Hello and welcome. My name is Kathleen Martin, and I'm a principal at Marketing by the Byte. And today I'm here to discuss customer experience success, transforming referrals into revenue in 5 steps with 3 industry superstars. But let's take a moment first and look at some recent statistics from Salesforce and Zendesk. Zendesk, 61% of customers will pay at least 5% more if they know they'll get a good customer experience. And 64% of leaders say customer service has a positive impact on their company's growth. 88% of buyers say experience matters as much as a company's products or services. And 70% of brands see a direct connection between customer service and performance. It's rather clear that customer experience, both internal and externally, cannot be avoided, and it should be embraced in order to drive your top line profit and your bottom line revenue. With that, let me introduce our panel. So today I would like to introduce you to Steven Spiegel of Crewhu, Gerwai Todd of Zest, and Eric Torres of Scalepad. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Kathleen.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Kathleen.
Wonderful. So let's start with the internal view, engaging employees. And I'll let you decide who goes first, but how do you individually believe employee engagement directly impacts customer experience? And what strategies have your companies found prove most effective in motivating staff to deliver exceptional service?
Who would you like to go? I don't want
You
to
can choose. Go ahead. You spoke up. It's all you.
There you go. There you go, Steven.
Yep.
Okay, so what we do in the channel is we help deliver customer experience. I'm pulling from numbers that we specifically have from all of our MSP customers. We compare those that use recognition and rewards for employee engagement for those that just use customer satisfaction measurement. And we found that those that use the recognition and rewards to engage their employees have get 30% more feedback from their customers. They're talking to their customers 30% more of the time. And they also have a 7% higher customer satisfaction score on average. So, the numbers say that you need to really focus internally on the employees to get them motivated to deliver amazing customer experience. And personally, within our company, we really focus on rewarding the guys for delivering a positive experience on the support desk, but also throughout the company where they're able to get recognized or rewarded for helping out, right? You'll hear me internally in the company, and I'll always say it's not just the support desk. It's not just the sales team. It's everybody in the company that touches the customer, whether it's directly or indirectly.
Yeah, if I could jump onto that, Steven, you're spot on. Everybody in the company, I look at everybody as being in sales. If you have any kind of interaction with anybody, whether it's a customer or any other vendors, or even just explaining what you do to some stranger, you are representing that brand, representing the company. In terms of recognition and building this culture. It's easy to say you have to have a good culture to have a good, happy team and happy clients. It comes from the top. It has to start with management and the executive leadership team really drilling home and thinking about what they want their company culture to be and how they're going to implement that. I've been part of several organizations that was the exact lead. It came from the top, and there was methods of sharing recognition, as Steven was talking about, and having a sense of true team, and that team getting behind the leadership really showed and really made for happy customers.
Yeah, I'm going to key off of what you said there, Eric. For me, everything starts with culture. And where I go back to for culture is who we bring on the team. Now, I know how desperate MSPs can be for technical talent, but if we aren't thinking about their ability to deliver amazing service at the same time of having that technical acumen that they need to have, I think we're missing the boat. And so where I like to start the conversation, and what I've used a lot of times in the past, is a book called The Ideal Team Player from Patrick Lencioni. It's highly regarded in my opinion. I've been part of companies that have actually given it to every new hire to just kind of set the stage. And what it talks about in that book, just to give everyone kind of a little bit of the nuggets from it, is if a team member isn't hungry, humble, and smart, they're not going to work out. And so there's a lot to think of in the book, I think would be my recommendation at this point.
What was the name of that? If you could share it again, what was the name of that book?
Yeah, it's called The Ideal Team Player. What makes someone an ideal team player amongst each other? And I find that it has really helped people kind of put things into simple terms and just understand what's necessary beyond kind of that technical acumen you need to have.
Well, you can't go wrong with a Patrick Lencioni book. The Table Group has put out some amazing business fables, and I'm a huge fan of the 5 dysfunctions of a team, as well as understanding the 6 working geniuses. So great call there. All right, gentlemen, and I'm going to start with you this time, Eric. Could you explain the importance of establishing a regular cadence or a rhythm in customer interactions and how this consistency contributes to overall customer satisfaction?
Yeah, definitely. I'll start by even taking a step back and saying a regular cadence for just about everything, a regular rhythm of what you do. I've always been a very strict processes and procedures type mind, where you have to dedicate time to certain strategies, certain initiatives, certain tasks that you have, and breaking up your day in doing that. On the sales side, for those sales leaders that are tuning in, it's setting time aside to do that prospecting and to keep that top of the funnel full. And then you set aside your time for closing deals and working on deals and quoting, whatever it may be. But having that regimented schedule, and that falls into your customer's experience, your client experience, and having that regular cadence with them. I know it's very easy for somebody like me to say, have that regular cadence, do your quarterly business reviews, your monthly business reviews, whatever it may be. And the biggest challenge is getting your clients to that table, getting them on that phone call and getting them to understand the value. So there is going to take some effort to get your clients and customers to understand that why they're investing half hour, 90 minutes out of their quarter, whatever that cadence may be. And that comes down to how you're presenting that, what you're going to share with them to get them to understand and be on that same schedule with you. One of the things that as a managed service provider, and you'll probably hear me say this later on in today's presentation as well, those that simply have that regular cadence, that do a regular quarterly business review, even if it's a bad quarterly business review, have a 13% higher EBITDA. So the numbers are there. It's just getting that baked into your strategy. And it's easier with your newer customers. You bring on a new customer and you tell them, here's exactly my process. I'm going to do this for you each and every single month. We're going to meet. We're going to have a virtual phone call, an in-person call, whatever it may be. But this is the schedule as to what we're doing, and they can expect it. And then when you do provide them value in those calls, then they do look forward to that half-hour call, hour or 90 minutes, as I mentioned. The most successful Scalepad partners that are doing this have built it into a quarterly check-in, half-hour call every single month. Here's the 3 things I'm going to cover in that call. If we get done in even less than a half hour, great.
Yeah,
I
agree, Eric. It's so important, and it's not only important. We always talk about how it's important for the customer, and how we're helping the customer and how we're delivering the service. I think it's just as important for the account manager and their mindset. And, you know, at the end of the day, the business wants revenue, but you're not going to get revenue every day. You're not going to have a good day every day. You know, one of the best practices I recommend for the account managers is to have a cookbook and have these metrics where you have numbers. You have to hit this many calls, try to have this many meetings, at least this many conversations, and the sales will come. And so if you have a bad day, and I'm talking a bad day with revenue, there's no new sales that come in, you could at least say at the end of the day, I made this many calls, I had this many conversations. I feel like I did my job, right? And if you do that as an account manager, you're going to have a good mindset. You're going to deliver great customer experience. And in the long run, you're going to bring in revenue for the company because you're delivering value. So it's not only about the customer, it ultimately is about the customer, but we have to think about the mindset of the account manager over time.
Cool. Well, you guys have done a good job covering that area. Maybe what I would do then is pivot to the help desk side of the world. One of the things I have found, like as an example, as it relates to time Zest, we really focus on responsiveness and resolution time. So really basic stuff, right? So I try to go deeper. I try to look at like what is really driving the performance of the team, what causes us to be different. And I've seen this in other teams that I've worked in. So as an example, and this is going to feel minor, but I really believe these are big deal kinds of things. I've worked in places where, you know, we all have that challenging customer, all of us, whether we're talking to MSPs or talking about ourselves, it happens. People are people, and you're going to have that. And what I had in certain environments was, in one case, I had an environment where when we're done with a frustrated customer, we complain about it in the office. Before you know it, other team members may join in, and then we get back to our day, right? I had the fortunate opportunity to work with a gentleman named Earl Proven. This is during my time at ConnectWise. And that was just something he wouldn't allow. He would look at it as, this is business. This is what we do. We deliver support. And sometimes we're going to have a challenging customer. Don't bash the customer. Don't go about it talking to your teammates about it. If you need to walk it off, but do that solo. Don't drag everyone else down with you. And I found that can get really cancerous really quick. And so when we think about cultural things, when we think about the way we operate, it's human nature to complain about those kinds of things. I get it. It's very hard. In fact, I have a little bit in me that gets caught up in that. But after meeting Earl and after seeing how he operated, I recognized that was such an important thing to work out of culture that I shepherd or lead at any time. So sometimes it's those little things, just little tiny things like that drive this enormous impact. And it also dictates how we should operate amongst other decisions we make throughout the day, right? So that's my example on it.
Well, Gerwai, taking from that, I want to pose this next question to start with you. How do you enable your employees, empower them in order to deliver excellent customer service so that those customers can go on and do the same?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, what I try to focus on is empowering them to make decisions. So that's issue number one. We have to lead by example when we do that. And what I believe we also have to think about in that process is working with clients to get to an outcome oftentimes is going to feel like the company may have had to give grace. And I find that to be an important part of our logic, which is, yeah, this is probably not the most fair position to take, but let's err on the side of grace for the customer. Now, if they become abusive and take advantage of us multiple times in different areas of decision-making or scenarios, then that changes the game. But for, I think, pretty much every customer, they're entitled to grace at some point. And especially if you can find some logic in the way they were thinking or how they ended up in the position that they got to. So that's how I just try to look at it. Create simple cases where we're reviewing the logic of the client. Oh yeah, I could see how if I put myself in their shoes, they'd be confused by some of our policies or procedures. And in those cases, we've got to give grace. It's our fault if we didn't communicate properly, if we didn't make it known very evidently. And even in those cases where it's known evidently and it's very clear, like in terms and conditions, I think there's room for grace at least once during the relationship with the client. And that's something that I think a lot about, that we don't want to be allowed to be abused, but we definitely need to think about giving grace whenever we can.
If I can add to that too, yeah, I'm going back to my first days in this space and working at an MSP, and one of the key things that I learned, and something I've baked into just about everywhere I've been, is just asking yourselves 3 basic questions when it comes to anything, and empowering your staff to make decisions. Is it be partner first or client first, customer first? So is it good for the client? Is it good for that individual staff member? And is it good for the overall organization? And if the answer is yes to all 3 of those, then it's something worthwhile doing. And we empowered the staff to make decisions and based off of that. So whether it's going above and beyond, or buying a partner a gift, or taking them out for a meal or a coffee, or whatever it may be, not having to jump through the hoops and saying, should I even be doing this? It's simply ask yourself 3 things. Is the partner going to enjoy this? Is it good for them? Is it good for my relationship with that partner? Is it good for me personally? And the business, is it good for the business? And once you have that mindset, and everybody on the team has that mindset, then they start getting awfully creative with what they do and how they treat people. And a lot of it does have to do with gifting and thinking outside the box, and just giving a simple, recognitions here and there to a client. It goes a long way. Another motto that I've lived by in previous lives is ask for forgiveness, not permission. If it answers those 3 questions the right way, do it. And if you are to your point, some people, if it does get to a point of where you're taking advantage, or you see people taking advantage of it, just have the conversation then. But empowering people to make those decisions and stop and reflect and say, is this good for all 3 of those points? That'll start helping with that overall experience.
Yeah, and to your point there, Eric, what I've found is that the vast majority of customers are just good people, but we find ourselves in these tough situations. And so, most of them are not trying to take advantage of us. That's what I found. Like, it's a very small percentage, and we do have to keep an eye out for them. But for the most part, I think what happens is team members, especially if you imagine someone on a help desk or a support team that's just getting hit all day long, I think they get a little bit jaded because of the consistency of challenges they face on a regular basis. And we just have to try to find ways to give them breaks and get them away from that closeness to the issues and how frequently it comes up. But for the most part, what I find, vast majority, right, 98, 99% of customers have good intent.
Yeah, I agree. But also the employees do as well. So I believe trust on both sides is really important. Trust that the customer is not trying to take advantage. Trust that the employee is not doing something bad on purpose, right? At the end of the day, you want to have KPIs, key performance indicators. You want to have a trailing KPI. Well, what do you want from that? That could be customer satisfaction score. And you want to have a leading KPI where, number of tickets that are open, response time, resolution time, kill rate. All of these things will lead to a higher customer satisfaction score, and take action. I mean, we had a problem last year with customer service. Customer service company had a problem with customer service. As we were growing really fast, we started to have some of these growing pains. And for me, my KPI is is making a decision, taking action. I like to give a shout out to our support leader, Fran, who came in this year and really turned things around. And I don't manage her on a day-to-day basis. She doesn't even report to me. But she does everything on her own, and she comes in once a week and reports on what's going on and what she thinks we need to do. And that's the type of empowerment I think you need to give your team as a leader, because you just don't have enough time to do everything. And when I started, I wore many hats. Now I just wear this one. And so as you let others do their thing, magical things happen, and it's amazing. The thing that we also talk about with MSPs is this thing called the Bill of Rights, where they're never and always. I saw this from Don DeJulius once. He's a customer service expert. He's amazing. Talked about the never and always, and Gerwai talked about response time earlier. And for example, for response time, never ignore a ticket because of difficulty. That's a rule. So that means they understand that and they know how to act. Always have a human response within 30 minutes. That's another rule. So as an owner, as a leader, as a manager, you could be in the office or you could be at a conference somewhere across the country, but your guys know exactly how to act because you have these Bill of Rights. So we always recommend taking these Bill of Rights, implementing them into your organization. So they're rules for your company. People know what the conduct is. Your team knows how to act.
That's fantastic. Well, Stephen, let me leave this with you. This is going to be our last question before we go into our company demos. But what I'd like to understand is really the crux of how does exceptional customer service drive revenue? What is the tie between customer success and experience to revenue? How are they interlinked? Well,
I mean, we have clients that could showcase this. You use customer success. How do you use it to then grow your company? Especially in the service industry, like the channel, like managed service providers, it's really hard to differentiate yourselves. Everybody has the same tech stack, and if you have a better tech stack than everybody else, that tech stack's going to be copied pretty fast. And the guy down the street's going to say, "Oh, we do the same thing." Well, how do you differentiate yourself? And it has to be on proof points. It has to be on testimonials, Google reviews, for example, which is the place to go for this industry because we're location based. And not only Google reviews, lots of Google reviews and lots of recent Google reviews. It doesn't matter if it happened 6 months ago. What happened yesterday? What happened last week? So use that to feed those Google reviews. Have testimonials on your website being fed into your website. Again, just like Google reviews, they need to be recent, so they understand that you're doing this today. This wasn't something you just put up. A lot of companies, a lot of MSPs, but a lot of other companies as well, they put up these testimonials, these case studies. There's no date. We don't know if this happened last year, this year, 10 years ago, and they're not fresh. And you need to this needs to be something that you are doing, you're dedicated to on a quarterly basis to bring in new best practices, case studies. And case studies are really important. So testimonials are topical. Case studies get down into it. They talk about how you could help grow the business. I have a customer. I'll go over into it in the presentation. They brought in $700,000 in new annual recurring revenue. $700,000 from referrals. From a positive survey. So they get the people that are giving them great marks. They talk to them. Hey, can you mind doing the case study with us? Hey, these guys are our ideal customer profile. Do you mind introducing us? And that turns into new business. Others use it in their proposal process, where they show this is how we handle our customers. This is how we take care of them. This is how we specifically improve customer experience, response time, resolution time. And they're able to win business that way. The last thing I want to mention is with account management. They could be an existing customer, but you want more of their wallet share, right? They're not going to do more business with you if they're unhappy. And I bet you Eric could talk a lot about this, okay? Because when you do your account review, you go through the QBR and you're happy, you're not going to be that expense line. You're not going to be next to the electric bill. They're going to treat you like an asset, like an investment. You're going to be on the balance sheet. You want to be on the balance sheet, not on the income statement. That's how you grow your business.
Well, Eric, I think that was a lead into you, sir.
Steven said a lot there. I was actually taking some notes as to how to respond to that, because all of that is good and well. I wholeheartedly agree. I go back to when I myself was an MSP and thinking about some of my vendor relationships and why I valued them so much. There's one that came to mind, and this rep, we had a regular cadence, and it grew from just a transactional relationship to a true friendship. And that was the key. And that's what kept me coming back and kept our cadence going as to what it was. And I want to make this point to any of the sales leaders that are out there. When we're talking about cadence, we're talking about building that relationship with your customer. It can't just be the last week of the month when you're looking for pipeline. That is not the time to call. My best relationship, my best sales rep, we throughout the course of the years-long relationship that we had, it was almost every other day. So we're talking almost three days a week. And it was more of a friendship phone call. Hey, how was last night? What did you do? I heard that you were going here. How was that? The phone call was all of 5 minutes. And he never once asked me about pipeline, never asked me about anything like that. But it was a friend. It was somebody that I was going to absolutely buy from. They ended up being a little bit more expensive than other vendors, but that's what I purchased from, and that's what your clients are doing for you guys. Is they're looking for that relationship. They're looking for that friendship, and looking for somebody who's going to have success at top of mind. And success comes down to understanding their business and helping them grow. When you look at the Scalepad stack, and I'll talk about it here in a little bit, but even just a regular check-in call, we were saying, hey, I logged in your system. I noticed 3 things. There's a potential opportunity for an upgrade for one of your clients sitting here. Here's how much revenue that I'm predicting this may be. Is there anything I can do to help you close that? Like, that is helping the success of your client. And that's going to get them to answer your calls and agree to that cadence of calls, and both of you grow as a result.
Yeah, that's great. I forgot something, Kathleen. I was supposed to bring some eyewear, so there you go.
Now you met.
Yeah,
a little bigger than I thought it would arrive, but yeah, we're doing this.
It works. I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah. On Steven's point and also Eric's, I think one of the things I hear a lot about in the industry is the following: I need to hire a salesperson. And it's just constant. What I find in a lot of those individuals, though, in their operations, is that they've gotten bored with service delivery. They think it's perfected, and they've moved on to something else. Now, I'm not saying don't hire a salesperson, but I am saying that you need to do both at the same time, which is to focus on sales is important. But what I think we forget about on a regular basis in this industry is that this entire industry was built on referrals. And when you sit in a room and you ask any MSP owners, service managers, anyone that knows the numbers, it's a high percentage of referrals that built that business. And I get it. We got to scale beyond just referral business. But for me, I want to remind people to go back to the roots of what we did to get here. And that is, deliver innovative support on an ongoing basis that differentiates you from your competition. So Stephen talked a little bit about that. You do have to differentiate. I'm sorry to say the nasty word that there's competition in this world, but there is. And the game of business gets lost very quickly when we forget about those principles. So if we aren't constantly thinking about how we can deliver our services at a higher level, we've lost the game of business. That's my opinion. I mean, we're service-based businesses. We have to remember that. And if you want to grow, then empower your customers to talk good about you. And you think you may be done with it? I believe it's an ongoing battle. I think you're constantly having to do things differently in your service delivery to continue to impress your customers. If you do what you just did yesterday or the year before and just rinse and repeat that, I guarantee you, number one, you'll get passed up by someone. And number two, your customers will forget about what you've done for them lately. So innovating that service delivery is massively important to me. I don't think there's any better tool than that. And quite frankly, you know, a lot of business owners want to outsource sales. You're going to have to be in the process of sales for quite a while. Until you scale past 50 to 100 employees, you're going to be the top salesperson. Just accept that.
Well, gentlemen, this has been very interesting, but I'm now going to give each of you up to 10 minutes to share with us how your company is helping these MSPs lead forward. So with that, we're going to start with Stephen. Stephen, let me bring your presentation up and onto the screen, and I'll let you take over.
Got it. You know, I want to start, you know, back years ago when I started my customer experience journey. It was 2003. Driving across country with my wife, Keika from California. And we just spent our life savings on a franchise. It was Cold Stone Creamery, ice cream store. And so we're going across, settling. We left our friends. We left everybody. You know, and it was exciting, actually. It was really exciting. We're starting the next part of our lives. I started to build stores, one after the other, after the other, after the other. We were winning the market. We were finding great locations. We were growing the business. It was amazing. Fast forward a few years later, my excitement turned to frustration. Turnover was really, really high. Every time I picked up the phone, it was another fire. Wasn't liking what I was doing anymore. And I started to question whether I made the right decision to become an entrepreneur, in fact. And, you know, there was this one day, just, you know, I was training a class, another store called, there was another fire. I went into the parking lot, I screamed. I was just beyond myself. And at that point, I knew I needed to either fix the problem or quit. You know, I decided to, of course, you know, fix the problem, and I looked into it. We were getting one negative rating per store per month. You know, thousands of transactions, one rating. And I realized that we weren't asking for the rating, but they had to go on the website and dig for it, and then click 20 times to give it. So they had to be really upset to give a negative rating. I also realized that the only thing that the managers were coming to the employees with were problems. And why were you doing this? Why were you doing that? And so that was a big issue. And we came up with a solution where when they came to the store, when they came to the creamery to get an ice cream, 5 minutes after their transaction, you know, we tied into the loyalty program. 5 minutes after the transaction, we asked them a simple question, you know, how is your service? And they were able to rate the actual crew member that delivered the service for them. And that one rating turned to 100, 96 of which on average were positive. So we were able to celebrate a lot more than come to them with issues. And at the same time, we recognized and rewarded them for those positive ratings. Turnover went away, and our sales started to go up again. And we ended up being one of the highest grossing franchise groups, not only in Florida, but in the country. And at that moment, I realized that we could deliver a badass customer experience 100% of the time. And this is important to me because it didn't only change my business, it really changed my life. I could have dinner with my wife and son again without thinking about work. I could go to the movies without the phone being turned on. Everything started to get easier, and it's important to you as an MSP, because you deal with the same issues every day. You guys are getting tickets every day, which is the reason why we ended up going into this space, because we knew we could solve this problem for the channel, right? And the number one reason why customer experience programs fail is because of bad execution. Now, I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, here we go. Okay, the things that you need to do for the program not to fail, for execution to be good, is to focus on the positive, just like I talked about. If there's so many good things that are happening, much more good than bad, as you probably already know. The other reason is process. You may have a customer experience, you want a customer experience program, but there's no process. What do you do with the positive ratings, right? When you get a positive rating, how do you take advantage of that, to differentiate your company? And when a negative rating comes in, what do you do with that? If you're not processing the ratings that come in, you start to lose credibility, and your conversion rate goes down right away. And you need the whole team involved. You need all the people on your team involved. Leadership just can't go and say, I'm gonna start a customer experience program today without having the buy-in from their team. If they don't have the buy-in from their team, the program will fail, right? So focus on the positive, have a process, and get everybody involved. Okay, now let's go back to the ice cream story. Why was I successful? Why was I able to turn it around? We asked. Every time they had the transaction, 5 minutes later, we asked at the right time. It was easy, one click, and they were able to give feedback. And we engaged the crew. We recognized and rewarded the crew. We came up with a framework, and it's called 3 Steps to See Execute. We ask, easy, engage. I know how much you guys like acronyms, so we came up with A, E, E. A, E, E. And who says that? The fonts. A. So let's go into the product real quick. So we collect feedback. Okay. We collect lots of feedback. We make it very easy. We ask at the right time, right? After the issue's resolved, we ask for it after the reply, for projects, relational surveys like Net Promoter Score. There's lots of triggers to get the feedback, but we don't stop there. That's where it just starts. Then we gamify it, right? Then we reward guys delivering amazing customer service. We recognize them. We shout it out publicly. They feel good about what they're doing, right? They're working really hard on a daily basis. And if they don't feel like they're being recognized for their hard work, they're going to disengage just a little bit. You might not even notice it, but that's why the majority of companies out there are average and not exceptional. But we don't stop there. We have a recognition module where you're able to empower your team to recognize each other for a job well done, because you as a manager, as an owner, as a leader cannot see everything. So empower your team to recognize each other on the core values of the company, on the customer bill of rights of the company, to reinforce that amazing customer experience culture. But we don't stop there. We have an automated store for rewards where they could take the points that they earn from delivering great customer experience and automatically redeem meaningful rewards that are important to them, that make them feel like you understand who they are and what they like. But we don't stop there. We have workflows to make it very easy to increase your Google reviews. I know for a fact that MSPs out there want more Google reviews, right? So we do that. We stream testimonials to the site. And we work on your online reputation so you could stand out from the crowd. I talked about this before. Engaged employees bring you 30% more surveys and 7% higher CSAT score, right? We talked about the why throughout this presentation, throughout my presentation, throughout the discussion I had with the guys earlier. We just talked about what we did and why it's important to you. Now, if we did that okay, if I did that okay with the proposal, please give me feedback, positive feedback if I did it, negative feedback if I did it. Positive feedback's great. Negative feedback's even better. No feedback sucks. So please go to the QR code. But before you do that, I'd like you to commit to Ask Easy Engage. So you could be like David Wolf, who increased Google reviews by 120%. Or Brent Yaks, who got $700,000 in annual recurring revenue by focusing on the positive reviews. Or Neil Jern, who brought in 12 new clients by bringing the process of how he does customer experience to his proposals, right? But if you get anything out of today, anything, I want you to remember to celebrate the small wins daily with your team, and you'll be able to deliver amazing customer experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And now, Eric, we're going to turn it over to you.
Stephen, the shout out for the A, that's the Fonz. I mean, I'm from Milwaukee. We have a Fonz statue here. So you had me at the Fonz.
That's great. That's awesome.
I'll take a picture. I'll send it to you. But the Scalepad has been up to a whole lot this year. We've had probably the busiest year I've had in my career, and it's all about developing tools to help wow our clients and even more so our own internal staff or our partners. We've come a long way. We've acquired 5 companies this year. And the only way to be successful in doing this is to take a lot of what we have been talking about today and building that into our culture, into our strategy, and helping the success of our partners. The key with us is that we are led by a lot of veterans who have been working with MSPs forever. Chris Day is a former MSP, Luis Giraldo, former MSP. I used to work at an MSP. And then Dan Wensley, our CEO, who has been working with MSPs longer than some of our staff have been alive. So we joke with Dan saying that he used to walk uphill in the snow both ways to work with MSPs and ensure their success. One of the key elements that Dan has drilled into all of us is this framework. And if you build this into everything that you do and automate as much of the manual tasks that you have, standardize your service delivery, everything we're talking about today, all of the cadence, all of the regular quarterly business reviews, everything that goes into culture, standardize it. Make your smallest client feel like your largest client, your newest client feel like they've been with you for years. That will lead to strengthening client communication, strengthening relationships, strengthening the team building internally. And then once you do all 3 of those, you're going to increase your bottom line. You're going to increase your operational maturity and your performance overall. I had mentioned it's been a crazy busy year for us. We have acquired a number of companies, a number of different resources and solutions to help you deliver success to your customers, starting with the asset lifecycle management, VCIO, and client success. We've even introduced our newest item, which is IT asset disposal, which is a new revenue stream, and being good to the earth and having that further bond with your customers, a better backup monitoring process, a better way of looking at the data at your fingertips through business intelligence. Then last but not least, the hottest trend in everything that we do in this space is a better grasp on security and compliance. So if I just take a quick moment to talk about each one of these and what we've been up to, Lifecycle Manager is exactly what we were talking about in the first, very beginning of this session, and developing that cadence, developing that QBR process, that tool that will help you have those regular discussions. Again, whether that's every month, every other month, once a quarter, maybe it's once a year for some of your clients, but having this tool that integrates with all of your other tools, all of your IT documentation, your PSA, your RMM, and truly build great, beautiful, in-depth reporting that is clean and easy for your clients to understand. Lifecycle Insights was one of our acquisitions this year, and that is another tool that again is to help deliver that VCIO aspect of it. Being on the same side of the table when you're having these conversations with your customers, and really joining them as a member of their team, being their true leader when it comes to developing that budget and figuring out the right use of that budget, the right project rollouts and hardware refresh recycles. Your clients are looking for you to be that expert, be that trusted advisor to them. Lifecycle Insights does exactly that and tackles a lot of the challenges that MSPs have when it comes to talking about the hardest thing to talk about, and that is money. That is the budget and setting budget aside for that. I had mentioned earlier 13% higher EBITDA for those who simply do this regularly. And I even said it, that number is 13% for those that even do bad QBRs. So imagine what that number jumps to once you start utilizing these tools and resources to truly build that great customer experience. We have Services Marketplace, which I want to share very quickly with you guys also about the opportunity that's out there, which also leads directly to customer success, your customer success, and the way that the end users value what you do. Blue sky, if your customer signed every quote you put in front of them, the average Scalepad partner is sitting on $1.1 million worth of hardware refresh opportunities that are out there. We know your clients aren't going to sign every single quote you put in front of them, but the number that stands out here is the extended services, the warranty that you put on that, the experience your customer has, and knowing that if they drop a cup of coffee on their laptop, having that replaced, having that under warranty where you have them back up and running in less than a day, that is an opportunity and more another line of revenue. $172,000 per month is what our partners are looking at as that hardware starts cycling through. We introduced this year IT asset disposal, completely free of charge. This is furthering that marketing plan that you have. I put on my sales and marketing hat from an MSP viewpoint and lens. This is a free IT asset disposal, completely free. We cover the shipping. We cover the destruction of that device, the disposal of that device. But then also every single device that we are disposing of, we're planting a tree on your behalf. So every single device, we are planting a tree, and you'll know as an MSP that you are responsible for 100 trees this month. You can then share that story with your customers, have them part of that journey with you, and letting them know, yes, you're responsible for being better to the earth and reforesting forests that have been ravaged by forest fires. Another solution we've had for quite some time, Backup Radar. This is more about that employee experience and how much time they're spending just doing that basic mundane backup review and going into all of your different systems and making sure that your client's number one asset, their data, is being protected. This is a way to get some time back for your employees. We're seeing what used to take hours and hours of time every single week, now down to a matter of minutes. So now that level one engineer that's sole purpose every morning was to come in and check backup logs and screenshot verification emails. Now they can start taking on other tasks. Maybe it's answering some more tickets on the help desk, and maybe it's taking on more project work, but advancing their career and truly being aware of the time that they're spending doing some of those basic daily tasks. Cognition 360 was another acquisition we made early this year. That is putting the leadership, both on the executive leadership within the organization, as well as the sales leadership, business intelligence, being able to pull the reporting out of ConnectWise that truly gives you the power to make these intelligent business decisions. Is your client going to be profitable in 3 months from now? Or are there trends that are happening on that network that would lead us to predict that we need to spend a little more time with that customer? We need to convince them that some of the initiatives we're putting in front of them are necessary. And all of this is designed to increase your profitability. 12% increase in profitability in the first year of use in Cognition alone. Lastly, Control Map, security and compliance. This is your compliance platform for all of the different frameworks that are out there, from whether it's HIPAA, SOC 2, ISO 27001. All of these different frameworks are built into this to empower you to deliver compliance as a service, keeping your client's network safe, secure, having that successful method of protecting everything that's out there. Again, a ton of work that we've been up to here at Scalepad. I'll flash my email. If there's anything I can do for you, shoot me a message, et@scalepad.com. And back over to you.
Thank you so much, Eric. All right. And rounding out our team before we go into closing comments is Zest. And Gerwai, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pica. Did I unmute there? I think I'm set, huh? All right. Everyone today is really focused on, I think, on the same thing, which is differentiating that service delivery that you have. It's an area that we focus on. As I mentioned earlier, to me, it's an area that we cannot turn our heads away from. We always got to be focused on this. So as an example, what we do at Zest is we're looking to reinvent the way you negotiate scheduled time with your clients. So we're much like Calendly, but designed for an MSP. And let me explain what I mean by that. Calendly is a great solution, but what they don't understand is that you have an environment like this. So in your MSP, you have some team members that work out of Microsoft 365's calendar system and other team members that need to work out of the PSA calendar system. And unfortunately, Calendly just doesn't have an understanding of that. They don't have an understanding of tickets. They just don't know how you operate. And so we built a solution to address that. And so as an example here, you can imagine you're basically straddling two worlds. You have an account manager where some MSPs will say, hey, you've got to schedule everything in the PSA calendar so that we have a view of it. But what we find is that's actually quite problematic because an account manager will really get slowed down in their day by having to work in the PSA constantly. There are some cases where they need to be there. But for the most part, account managers, executives, owners, they can work out of Outlook, and we want to support that. So what we do uniquely in our application when we schedule meetings and negotiate meetings with these team members is we have an understanding of the fact that each one of these individuals in the team have a calendar of record. So the team members on the right in the help desk, their calendar of record ought to be the PSA, and team members on the left here can have a calendar of record being Outlook, as an example. So let me just go into some of those use cases that we support. So if you can imagine the help desk, we schedule time right off of a ticket. And so when you receive an issue and you recognize that you need to meet with a client, you can send out a scheduling request directly from your PSA, and you no longer have to do the back and forth scheduling ping pong game of email and phone tag that gets that time negotiated. We also support project teams. In addition, if you think about the marketing use case of being able to have the call to action in all of your digital content of placing a phone call or a discovery call with a salesperson, we support that use case. In addition to the account management and QBR discussion we just had, sometimes you have those set on a recurring schedule, and that works great. But the moment you get off track of that, a team can't meet at that particular time, and you're in the scheduling ping pong game of trying to negotiate a time, we step in to help make sure that that's a seamless process. In addition, you've got sales and executive team members that may need to just send a scheduling request for a meeting right out of their calendar or maybe even in their email signature. So those are kind of an example of the things we support. There's a classic ROI as it relates to your side of the equation. Look at your number of staff. You can actually go right to our pricing page at timezest.com. You can compute, your staff, the time spent scheduling, and the average cost of your team members. And before you know it, it'll spit you out a number as it relates to what you'll save internally just for every hour, every minute you spend on scheduling the old-fashioned way. But what I think is most important is actually the customer experience side of this. So we think about what the experience now is with end customers that you have, it changes significantly. And we were talking earlier about how you differentiate. So today we're at about 1,000 customers on TimeZest. In fact, we're over, I should say. We're over 1,000 paid, and we have a few hundred more on our free plan. And what we're finding in each one of these scenarios of our customers and what their end customers are saying is they love the new experience. And number two, what we're finding from MSPs is they're using it as a means to differentiate in their market. Okay, so let me give you an example of what I mean by that and how that's happening. When you make a process simpler, you get better results. And here's an example of that. 58% of the scheduled meetings we've automated for MSPs have been scheduled by end clients within 1 hour of sending the TimeZest scheduling link. So if you can imagine, you receive a ticket, you send out a scheduling request off of that. Within an hour, the majority are getting scheduled because of the simplicity of the model. And also, remember too, there is a human challenge with providing more than 3 to 5 times available, right? It gets pretty monotonous and time consuming when you just have to list out all these times you're available. So most people stop at about 3 on average. When you automate this process, when you give people access to more time, they're able to book in time that meets their needs and also meets your needs too of when you're available. So the reality is you generally have more than 3 times to give, but it's such a laborious process that you don't provide more, and your customers are stuck at very, very precise times that you can meet with them. This definitely changes the game, the simplicity here. And now let's also think about VIP clients or hard to schedule clients. We see this a lot. We see tickets come in, help desk team member called out, tried to reach them, they weren't available. Guess what? Help desk has to leave at some point in the day, right? But your VIP clients and hard to schedule clients are still working potentially. When they're ready to wrap up their day and they remember, oh yeah, I've got to book with the help desk, I got to find some time with them, you're gone. Now imagine having a scheduling solution that can give availability for the morning or the next day or the day after, and they're able to book in when it meets their needs. So 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, when we know some of these executive team members work at end client sites, they can still schedule with you even though your help desk isn't active at that moment. So reviews, we talked about this earlier. Channel program has a bunch of reviews on TimeZest. I'm sure they have reviews also on Crewhu and also Scalepad. So check those out. And then one thing that is kind of our claim to fame at this point is we started in the ConnectWise community. We obviously support Halo PSA and also Autotask now. But by starting there, we've gathered the most reviews possible out of any site. And you can see here, we're the #1 rated product out of all products in the ConnectWise marketplace. So check that out too. And that's all I've got, Kathleen.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank all of you today for taking this time to be here to talk about this. I think we've definitely identified some common themes, the themes of trust, empowerment, listening, that ever important relationship building quarterly, and then using the channel program opportunity also to improve your customer experience with your MSPs. So with that, I want to say thank you to each one of you today. If I could ask you to go around, Gerwai, let's start with you. Just quickly give me where people can reach you and where they can reach TimeZest.
Yeah, timezest.com is the best place. You can reach me on LinkedIn too. So Gerwai, super easy to find. I'm the only one out there. So search me on LinkedIn and connect with me out there too.
And Stephen?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. Same picture with the hat. I'm wearing white glasses on LinkedIn. Eric took that title, so I figured I'd go to black now. But I actually also we're having a promotion.
And I think that's in our show notes right now that everybody can see.
Yep.
Oh, they are. Okay. I just put that in I put a weird URL. It's a weird URL, but it works. Sorry. Jen's going to kill me, my marketer. Don't let me do anything. So that's the problem. But go to crewhu.com. You can learn more about us. Click on that link. You'll be set up with one of our team members who knows, the ins and outs of what we do and how to implement it for the MSP. We integrate with, ConnectWise Manage, with Autotask, now with Halo PSA as well, with IT Glue, with MS Teams, number of the products that you use on a daily basis to make your lives easier. It was great hanging out. I hang out with Eric a lot, so it's great seeing you again. Eric, Gerwai, it was great seeing you too. Kathleen, thank you so much for moderating this. If it wasn't for you, it'd probably be mayhem. We'd be talking over each other.
Definitely.
You're amazing.
Well,
Thank
before
you.
we finish, Eric, where can people find you in Scalepad?
Scalepad.com, the easiest email address to remember, et@scalepad.com, and LinkedIn.
Well, with that, I want to say thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to Channel Program for allowing us to have this discussion today. And to all of you who are celebrating any holidays during this month, we wish you a very happy holiday season.
And happy New